Hello, my name is Kevin Piers with Exfo. In today's 15 minutes or less session, we will be working with the FTB 5700 CD PMD module housed within the FTB 500 platform. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the module. And so while that's launching, see the window pop up in the very bottom left corner. You'll see initialize in progress. So this is the module initializing itself. So just a quick overview of what we see here in front of us. In the bottom left, we see where we can set our CD and PMD measurements. And so if you only want to do CD, then you can only do CD. But certainly in this case, we'll want to do both. So I'm going to go ahead and select CD and PMD. Under information, this is how we can label the actual file itself to identify it. So right now the prefix is fiber. The suffix, we're going to start at fiber number 1 in this case. Now down here in the bottom right where it says threshold, this is where you can set your pass-fail thresholds based on some standards. And so this doesn't affect the test itself. It only gives you some pass-fails. So if you're only worried about seeing the actual raw values, you can select none in this case. For this particular test, I'll select 10 gig E 40 kilometer reach. And so from there I'll go over here to the right to setup. And so this is where I can set my measurement range. Now certainly if you're doing fiber characterization, most of the standards are based on kilometers, but you can set this to whatever you'd like. In this case here, we'll leave it at kilometers, and the rest of this stuff is just general application setup information here. And so we'll leave it right where it's at for the default value. If you want to show the lambda 0, so where the 0 dispersion point is for CD, you can select this. So depending on your fiber type, it will show this value here. In this case, I'll just leave it unchecked. Acquisition range, if there's a specific measurement range you want to measure, this is where you can set it. So in this case here, I like to leave it at default. In fact, for probably 99% of my test, I usually don't really change much within the setup, but I thought we'd go through it. Down here for the fiber type, there are different types of fiber, obviously, so it is important to know what type of fiber that you do have. For my particular test network that I have here in my office, I have SMF28 fiber, which is non-dispersion shifted fiber, so G.652. If you're doing some long-haul fiber, like some true wave or leaf fiber, you might get up into the G.655, G.656. But for a large portion of the types of fibers we have in the ground, it is G.652, so I'll go ahead and select that. And of course we have analysis range. Now PMD scan, if you are going to be testing over time and you want to see what the PMD is over time, then you can increase the number of scans. For our purpose, 1 is enough. Down here at the bottom where it says fiber with aerial sections, because our single-ended 5700, because it's a single-ended test, it is susceptible to vibration. So we can compensate for this vibration by doing more averages. So if you have some aerial fiber and there's quite a bit of movement in that fiber, you can click this box. Honestly, I leave it unchecked most of the times because if the unit needs to do extra averaging, you'll actually get a dialog box that pops up saying, hey, there's been some fluctuations in the fiber. We're going to switch to aerial mode and continue the test. Please hit OK. So it will switch to aerial mode when it needs it. Just because it's aerial fiber does not mean you need to be in aerial mode. In fact, more often than not, you do not. And again, here's the thresholds. So if you're curious what the thresholds are for the particular standards, like for OC192, here's the thresholds for CD and for PMD, according to the ITU standard. And so if you just wanted to see what those look like, you can. Under preferences, it is important to identify your information within the report as much as possible. So in this case here, we have it labeled as cable for cable ID, but we can put cable 1 or whatever makes sense. Certainly your company name. All of these things that you do within the actual preference will save you some work post-processing. And so whatever your company happens to be, you can put that in there. We're testing from location 1 to location 2. So down here for the file auto-naming, I like to have at the bare minimum the fiber prefix and the location A and location B. So when we save the information, at the very least we'll have A location, B location, fiber number, which is the bare minimum for a lot of folks. So down here in configurations, you can actually save these configurations or import them for later use. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. And so from this point, honestly, all we do is test. So I'll go ahead and hit start. And then now it's going to be testing both CD and PMD. So this can take, several minutes, depending on the movement of the fiber and the conditions that you're testing, the distance and whatnot. So CD actually tests pretty quickly, so it'll run through and test that first, and then it'll come back in and test PMD. And again, this is all single-ended here. And usually we're looking at about anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes per fiber. But again, this is single-ended, so it's really quite a great return on investment by just having one technician testing one direction. And so right now it's evaluating the fiber. It's determined the length is 1.8, so just under 2 kilometers in length, which is about right, which is what I have here in my network. And so CD is done. And so when we're looking at the CD results here, we'll see, the information that's really important for you to document is going to be the coefficient, and then the total dispersion and the slope. So depending on your documentation, these are some of the information that you'll capture. So you'll have to refer to your internal documents to see, which parts of the CD measurements are, that they want to document. If you look at the white paper specs for SMF28, you'll see that it's roughly about 16 picosecond nanometer kilometer. So for every kilometer, there's about 16.9 in this particular case of dispersion. So if I take 16.9, multiply it by the length, we come up with 31.73. So that's how that number comes into play. Also keep in mind, just because it says pass or fail, it doesn't necessarily mean for CD that it's pass or fail. The thing with CD is it can be compensated. So the reason why we test CD is so we can measure how much dispersion compensation we need to put into the fiber. So we'll go ahead and let it do its test. And then you'll see the PMD measurement time. We're looking at about a minute left on it. We've got about 20 seconds left here. And that's the thing with PMD, is it will test as long as it needs to until it's satisfied with the information it has. So if there's a lot of movement in the fiber, it will increase the averaging time. But in this case here, this is just sitting on my desk, so there shouldn't be any movements here. And so we'll watch as it finishes up. So the test is now done. So if you look at it here, we have PMD, which is 0.10 picosecond of total PMD. And so when you fill out your documentation, these raw numbers is really all they're looking for. So in this case here, once I hit save, remember that file auto naming I did? And so it'll have the file auto name. We can go and hit save, and then we're done. And then all we have to do is go to the next fiber, hit start, and keep going. And that's it. It's fairly simple single-ended CD PMD testing in the FTB 5700 single-ended tester within the FTB 500 from Exvo. Thank you very much for joining us at this 15-minute or less session. To contact your local Exvo representative, please email us at isales.us@exvo.com. For support, you can reach us at support@exvo.com. Thank you very much.